Welcome to the Inspection Empire Builder podcast. On today's episode, we're talking about, man, all these people are always asking me for quotes. I don't want to give them those prices. Today, we have the easy button. Welcome to the show. On today's episode of Inspection Empire Builder podcast, we are talking about how to get quotes for your customers that is accurate, on time, and making it as easy as possible for everyone in the mix. Today we have Jeremy. How are you doing today?
Hey, I'm doing good, man. Good to see you.
Yeah, it's good to see you too, man.
But it's nice.
Yeah, it is. That's beautiful. That's right. It is beautiful. Yeah, that's incredible. So, hey, listen, here's why we got you on the show today is because you have a solution that every home inspector deals with every single day. Every day we're out there looking at houses and we're like, well, this roof needs a little maintenance. That water heater's at the end of its life. Sometimes it's at the end of its life and leaking and needs to be replaced like immediately. And every time we have home buyers and sellers, realtors, everybody going, well, how much is that going to cost? And right. As the inspector, I mean, I'm a home inspector. As an inspector, I'm like, man, I'm scared, not scared, but hesitant to deliver pricing because if I say it's going to be $1,200, it ends up being $1,500. My phone's going to ring like, bro, like, you know what I mean? You said, yeah. And it's like, well, listen, I don't really do that kind of work. And so most home inspectors try to dodge that question, avoid that question. We try to give a range, a price range, but things are always moving and changing. And then there's all kinds of different specs on different equipment. And it's like, man, we know our lane, but all these contractors and what they're going to charge to fix it, we don't really know. And this is where you come in. Man, tell me about your company, man. What are you doing?
Yeah. So, I mean, that's exactly the problem we solve. You know, we look at it if you're a home inspector, you know, your job is ultimately deliver a 60 to 80 page report that could be looked at as here's all the problems, but there's not a lot of answers, right? And if you're a real estate agent, and you're a buyer trying to make a go, no-go decision on a home, you want answers. And so it creates a lot of friction because contractors are busy. You know, they don't want to give you a quote for 32 things that were flagged in that home inspection by like tonight. And it creates a lot of friction. So that's where the quick fix sits. We sit there with our software. Anybody can upload any home inspection from any home inspector. Our software reads it, digitizes it, and turns it into a localized pricing quote for those repairs for that specific house. And it's all,
and in that market,
yeah.
So because I know like a water heater replacement in San Diego is going to cost different than a water heater replacement in Albuquerque, different than in Springfield, Missouri.
Yeah. And also, you know, if you flag the kitchen faucet's leaking, needs to be replaced, the value of the home is going to have an impact on the quality of that faucet too. So even things like that are
right
into consideration.
Well, yeah, because, you know, right. If you have a beautiful top end house, you're not going to go to Home Depot and get that bottom shelf faucet.
Correct. Right.
Right. You don't, that doesn't match the house you want, a nicer faucet. Your software will actually gather that data and figure that out. Wow. That's awesome.
Yeah. I mean, it's out there, right? So it's either, if it's not in the home inspection, it's in the listing that, you know, these are all Viking appliances. That thing is, the igniter being replaced on that is more expensive than your LG one. Right. And so,
right.
You know, we've seen thousands and thousands, more than 10,000 inspection reports and very carefully pulled all of them apart and priced out each item very carefully for years before we got to this place where we could do this with our technology.
So it sounds like this would take a while. How long does it take? Let's say I send in my report or the buyer sends in the report. How long does it take for a turnaround on like a quote?
Our software does about a 97% accuracy on that quote in about a minute is all it takes. And then we have a human though that does the last 3% and make sure it's 100% accurate before it goes out. So there's still a human in the loop. While we continue to improve the software to just make it, you know, better and better. And do things like, you know, the fence is leaning, right? Well, how many feet of fence are leaning? We got to figure that out still before we can give you a price that's firm on, you know, 8 feet or 32 feet of fencing being replaced or railing, things like that. We still have some quantity and measurement kind of work to do. And so,
right.
You know, they finalized the last a couple percentage points of accuracy, and then they'll do the quantities. But it always comes back in 24 hours or less, always 7 days a week, 365 days a year.
That's awesome. That's actually pretty quick. Okay. So I got another question, a technical question, because my brain's kicking, right? Yeah. All right. So, cause I'm thinking, okay, so one of my guys gets up on the roof, notices the shingles. Some of them are damaged. Some of them are blown off. Sometimes the guys will get up there, they'll take pictures. They'll take 3 pictures, 5 pictures of damaged shingles. And then they'll be like, okay, you have shingles that are damaged. We recommend further evaluation by a licensed contractor, to evaluate whether this, repair, replace, whatever. We have kind of our verbiage and that's in there. And then what we have on that one particularly, it'll say photos represent, the condition, a sample of the condition of the shingles, but is not inclusive to all, like every shingle would need to be replaced, right? Like we have that kind of caveat of there might be 30 of them that need to be replaced. We took a picture of 10 of them, but we don't say there's 30. We just say, here's some pictures of some of them because we don't want to be held liable for, that. It's basically this is the situation. You need to get a roofer out here to evaluate. How do you guys handle situations like that?
Yeah. So, we put it in a box, meaning we describe what we're going to do very specifically. And so on something like that, I can't remember all these numbers off the top of my head, but a batch of shingles, is going to cover, let's say 20 or 25 square feet or something like that is what, if you go to the store and get the box of shingles or the bundle, it's going to cover 25 square feet. So they're going to have to do that at least once to do that job, at least one package. So we'll look at it. And, if it looks like it's 3 pictures, maybe it's 3 packages. And so we quote it based on that, but it says, this is based on what was reported. So, our quote will fix what we see a picture of right there. Right. Yeah. And to your point, there might be more than that. And that happens, but it's usually then not a surprise to the consumer because we fixed what was in the picture. There just happens to be more that was up there that will get evaluated and we'll tell you about that. But the price is firm and accurate still to do what we said. But then this stuff starts getting a lot more complicated and, it makes it a lot more difficult to quote with high accuracy, like this. But, we've just really developed a system to be, very confident and protect both parties, right? Like you shouldn't be surprised as the homeowner and as the contractor, you're not going to be on the hook to do something that isn't, is more for that price because it's very specific what you're going to do. Right.
Right. Yeah. No, that totally makes sense. Yeah. That's incredible. So you're getting these quotes out pretty darn fast. Like within a couple, 3 days, you have quotes coming out. What's that?
24 hours.
24 hours. You got 24 hours. You got quotes coming out. Yeah. And so, okay. So this is where I got to ask these tough questions, right? Because there's competition that also sends out quotes and you can send their report. So I can send my report to this other company. I pay them money. Mm-hmm. They produce a price report of everything that they would do. And then they send it back. And then now it's a service that I can provide to my client. It costs me money to do it. Right. But then even then they have generalized pricing on like, okay, this is what it costs to do this thing. And then they got to go find a contractor somebody has to do the work. Yeah. And so what's the difference between that guy, the other companies? I think there's a few of them out there. I know of a couple very specifically, but what's the difference between those guys and you?
The biggest thing is that's an estimate and that's it. What you get from us is a bindable quote that has contractors who are vetted and on our platform in our marketplace. And we manage the entire process. So, if you want to get a lot of the stuff done that gets turned up in a home inspection, it's going to be, a handful of specialists, plumber, electrician, HVAC, roofer, right, just to name a few. And then maybe a handyman on top of that for all the window screens and latches and door knobs and that kind of stuff. So you're looking at 4 or 5 different contractors. Most homeowners don't want to deal with 4 or 5 different people, or maybe even like 12 or 15 different people to get quotes, try to compare them. What am I not understanding? These are very different quotes. Why people, they don't spend a lot of time buying water heaters or replacing their roof. You get better at shopping for cars and buying cars than you do buying water heaters or roofs, right?
100%. Yeah. And it's got to be done in a tight timeline too, because these houses are under contract. There's a clock that's ticking. Yeah. You don't really have time to go get all these quotes and compare them all, make sure everything's apples to apples. And that's right.
The biggest part, so you can get the work done through our platform. But for the home inspector, we don't charge you. We pay you actually for connecting us up with the lead, because this is likely to turn into a job that our contractors are going to go out and do work on. And we make a little bit of commission off the work that gets sold. So, we are highly incentivized to get the price right, because if it's too high, we won't sell anything. If it's too low, the contractors tend to tell us about that if we don't charge enough. And so, so we make sure that it's a highly accurate, very fair market pricing for the quote of what the work is. And, for sending your client our direction, we charge a fee to get these quotes. It's, it's such a painful experience for the real estate agent and or their client to try to gather all this information in that tight time frame. I'm happy to pay a fee to get the quote and know that it'll be accurate and here by this time tomorrow. And, because we have that quote fee, we share that with some of our partners as kind of like a marketing fee. And so we have a lot of home inspectors who already work with us who, do something like that. Out here in San Diego, we work with Philippe Heller. Out on the East Coast, we work with Hopkins and ProTech. And
nice.
They're big fans of the platform and, their clients.
Yeah. And,
really
and both those guys, those companies, they're part of IEB and very prominent in IEB. And yeah, so yeah, that's great. If you're an IEB member, you can reach out to those guys and verify what we're talking about here too,
You have to take my word for it.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. That's really great. So hold on a minute. So this is kind of game changing as far as the home inspector side of it, right? Because the other companies want me to pay them in order for them to give a quote based off my report. But for you're actually, the home inspector gets paid to get you guys involved, which I just want to interject in here. So then if I'm connecting everybody to make this happen, we're helping the buyer, we're helping the seller, we're helping the brokers, we're helping the home inspector, because now the home inspector doesn't have to be on the hook for any sort of liability on pricing. People go, what's the price for this? What's the price for that? And like, you know what? We have a feature in our, I could build it into my automation. Like when my report publishes, I could have a link right in there, right? And just be like, yeah, here's like, and just tell them like when the report publishes, there's a button in that email that says, hey, I want to get pricing, and we'll get local contractors to give you prices. And so then you can click that button, right? And then all of a sudden they're like, yeah, I'll pay to get all this thing done, whatever. And I think like, okay, there's a couple things too, right? So I know my ADHD is like spinning, and so it totally is. Where's my Adderall? I don't have any, but like it's a, surprise. But yeah, so like I just, my head's spinning because now it's like, okay, as a realtor, I need to get these prices. What's this thing going to cost? And you get pricing from you and it comes back. And then a lot of times what they do is they take all the pricing was going to take and they go back to the seller to kind of like renegotiate the price a little bit, right? Like, gee, I was willing to pay you $800,000 for this house, but I didn't know X, Y, and Z. Home inspector shows me there's X, Y, and Z wrong with this house. Listen, I'll still give you $800,000 for the house if you fix X, Y, and Z. Or if you don't want to fix X, Y, and Z, let's deduct the price of the house by $20,000 to handle all the offset of the expenses, right? Which is where the home inspection almost always gets paid for in the renegotiation. Like the price of the home inspection is a price that they pay, the buyer pays, but they end up recouping all of that and then some, sometimes exponentially in these transactions because the home inspector is saving them so much money. So this is just another tool that gets added on to help them leverage the inspection to either reduce the price of the house or get the repairs done in a very fast, timely, efficient manner.
Yeah. Or back out for real reasons because it was going to be way more expensive than they thought to buy this house. Right.
100%. Right. It could be like, yeah, this roof is at the end of its age, and it's like, yeah, it's going to need to be replaced. So then it's like, well, I want to know how much it's going to cost to replace this roof. It might need to be done in the next few years. Oh, golly, it's $45,000 to replace this roof. Yikes. Like I'm not into that. That's not my, or whatever it might be. There might be something else. And
what we find too is when, when the quotes come back from us, they reference where it's at in the home inspection. So whether it's, your reference number, the page and item number, kind of depending on what software you use.
Oh, right. If it's like 13.2.1 and it has okay.
Yeah. So it's going to reference that. So we're also being really specific in that sense, because sometimes, to your point, if you said to the seller, I need you to take care of these things, and then we'll move ahead, you want to make sure they take care of those things specifically. And so, like that's the next place where friction comes up in the transaction is you're supposed to fix that or replace that. You just repaired it. You didn't fix the right thing.
Mm-hmm.
The agent's like, oh my God, my commission's evaporating right in front of my face. And, they don't like that. So it allows you to, provide great service to the agent. But then when the agent gets these quotes, now they have something that's very transparent. So, you're like, oh, we want $20,000. With us, it's not $20,000 anymore. It's like $19,273, right? Because it's
yes,
a quote, right? And that works way better than we want 20 grand. Oh no, it's worth 10 grand. And then they're fighting again, right? And we just remove all that friction and make it a transparent process in this part of the transaction. So it's just, it's not a contentious point of contention in real estate transactions for the people who are working with us.
Wow. All right, Jeremy, how did you come up with this, bro? Like this solves a real pain problem, in the transaction. But what's your background? How did you come up with this idea of I see this pain point and I have a solution?
Probably the only person maybe not the only person, but I had some crazy experiences that got me here. So I sold software by day for a long time in my career. It was kind of this it was AI before we even called it AI, machine learning, predictive modeling, which we now just call AI. I was selling that stuff to insurance carriers a long time ago, helping them make predictions on underwriting and predict when claims are going to go crazy by using tons and tons of data. On the side, I've been a real estate investor for 20 years, done dozens of rehabs and have some rental properties and hired and fired contractors, had to sue contractors who were crooked and I've been down all that stuff. So I've, learned a lot in my career on the home repair side of things. And I had a couple of different experiences that kind of built up to this, but, one of them was I'm kind of in this space and I had solar panels put on my home and I wasn't sure if they were working right and I trying to get people out there and they weren't showing up and finally, get an inspector out there and he's like, well, it's supposed to be a new system, right? I'm like, yeah. He's like, well, they used parts. And I'm like, what? I should be able to figure this stuff out. And I still had a licensed, bonded, insured contractor use used parts on my solar system. And that's why it wasn't working. And so,
wow,
that was a whole lawsuit, but I also had flip properties that, one had shown, it was right next to a golf course, flat area. I'm sure this house had been there for 60 years. I'm sure at some point the golf course irrigation had flooded. And so there was the dry lake bed effect in the crawl space of this home, but the foundation was fine. And so I was like, okay, one-time event. But this guy got his buddy who was a foundation contractor out there. And that guy says, oh, this is $40,000 of repairs. So I was like, look, we can put a French drain between the golf course and here for a few $1,000s and call it a day. I'll do that or give you a few $1,000s, but I'm not doing $40,000 credit. And the guy walked because I wouldn't give him that credit. And so I turned to my agent and I'm like, bro, I got a flipped house that fell out of escrow because of a home inspection item related to the foundation. And now I got to disclose all this. This is bad, and it was because I couldn't get somebody out there to give us a second opinion really quickly on what the true problem was here and how to fix it. He was just trying to trust me and he wouldn't. And I knew that this foundation quote was highly inflated. And, the agent was like, oh, this is the worst part of being a real estate agent is trying to find contractors after you get the home inspection. You got to get the home inspection, but it just brings up all these questions that no one has answers for, especially quickly. And so quickly, it was kind of how we came up with the company name. This is Quick Fix. And that's really how we got here. So I started talking to some contractors and, they really confirmed with me that we don't like dealing with real estate agents at this time during the transaction because they want us. I don't even get to meet the person that's buying the house. I'm talking to the agent. Neither one of them own the property yet. And best case, they might own it in 30 to 45 days. And a lot of times they're just going to use me to negotiate. So I'm busy. I'm, not going to respond.
100%. Yes.
Deal, right. But then one of these contractors was like, but if your software could sell it for me, my guys will go do that work. We'd love to turn that work on. We just don't want to do the work to get it. And so, that's how the company was born was, let's figure out a way to really quickly turn home inspections into quotes that we know we can fulfill with great licensed vetted contractors who are on our platform and make ride sharing kind of platform, but not for taking you from A to B or from getting home repairs done. And, we'll put a price out there that we know is fair that contractors will pick up and do all day long. So, we end up with a lot of, contractors who aren't the biggest contractors, but they're really great, smaller contractors who they fill in a day or two in their schedule when it's open. They can go to Thumbtack or Angie's List or whatever and pay for a lead and compete for it, or if they can just come and pull a sold deal off the table from us and go do the work on a specific day and get paid as soon as the job's done. So, they love it too. It works out really well for them as well.
Yeah, no, yeah. So, I mean, you obviously identified the problem. Like that's the thing is like, I think every inspector knows it. Every realtor knows it. And all my friends that are contractors, they know it too. And the exact same thing you said is they like, I don't want to deal with this. Like, let's say I identify, one of my inspectors identifies HVAC. It's not cooling properly. We don't know why. We just know that it's not hitting the delta that it needs to be hitting. And so, it could be a multitude of things going on here. Right. And so then you price it and the guy goes out and says, no, it's not what you said it was. But the buyer's like, we've all signed up. We've all signed up for the $1,400 that you said it was going to cost, but he's saying it's going to be $2,800. Yeah. Like how do you resolve all that?
So there's a few things, and that would be one of them, where what you would see as the task in your quote for that kind of flag in the inspection is a service call. And we just don't know, I can't tell you enough about why it's not cooling properly, so rather than put in a charge to, fill it with coolant again, which is a tricky one too. But, rather than do that, we would just have a service charge, and they're going to come out there, they're going to service it and evaluate it and give you a quote for any recommended repairs is what would happen on something like that. And we'll do that for most things that are even like, water heaters at lifespan, but operating normally. Let's just service the water heater. Then I can give you a quote and you can come back in and say, hey, I know it's working, but it's old. I want a quote for repair. No problem. We have an edit request feature too, so they can further customize their quotes to get it to be exactly what they want. And we see that used a lot for HVAC, water heater.
Got it. Yeah. I mean, that makes sense. So you can charge, a couple $100 or $300 or whatever, I don't know what the going rate is in your area, but in my area, it's $200-$300. You can have a guy come out and service your equipment. Yep. And if it's not cooling right, I get this. You say, we're going to service and evaluate. And then we'll figure out what the root issue is.
Because that's the right thing to do, right?
That is the right thing to do. Absolutely. That's absolutely the right thing to do.
Another one that's kind of in that line that we get a lot about is, whenever, it's something with the foundation that you recommend an engineer take a look at, we often have agents push back on us, like, I need a price for it. It's like, I don't know how to fix it because you haven't hired an engineer to tell us how to fix it. So, the agents don't want to, neither you guys don't want to be deal killers. We don't want to be deal killers either for the agents because they're recurring to us as well. We want to be honest and be as transparent as we can. And I think, as a person buying a home, the person that's helping you doesn't make money if you don't buy it. So you got to be at least a little bit aware of that and, try to understand what you're really getting into. If, there's some things popping up in a home inspection that you're uncomfortable with.
Well, we're all on the same team. We're helping buyers and sellers buy and sell houses. That seller wants to sell it so much so he hired somebody to put that thing on a network basis of MLS to advertise it. The buyer wants to buy it so much so that they write down on paper in a contract that they're trying to buy this thing. The seller wants to sell it. The buyer wants to sell it. We're all trying to help everybody get what they want and not get sued. Yeah. That's the game, right? Yep. And everybody wants to be open, honest, transparent, and help buyers buy, sellers sell. Nobody gets sued. Everybody's happy. Everything's in the light, and we're all making well-educated, great decisions.
Exactly. Yep.
I love it, man. All right. So I see your background, how you kind of got into this thing, how you got it started.
On the home inspection side of things. So we've got a pretty good group, and it's starting to be fun instead of just stressful.
There is that tipping point in every business.
Yeah.
So I know you got customers on the East Coast and the West Coast. I'm assuming you got customers in the middle too, right?
We do.
Okay. So you're nationwide. How many states have you worked in?
I think we're at like 46 states. We've done quotes for, and at least I don't say close to 20 where we've actually, performed work orders. We've done thousands of work orders at this point that we've successfully filled all of them. The system works for what we're doing. That's why we're, the venture firms we're working with, we're trying to get some capital to really start growing the company and really going nationwide, like deep in every market. And, it's scalable what we're doing now. So, yeah, we're pretty excited about that and just continue to invest in the technology to make it faster, more accurate, improve it for the contractor side as well. And, we put a lot of thought and effort into the real estate agent and their client side of things to just really create the demand so that that would work. And now we're kind of on to really working through how we fulfill and make sure everything works really well for the contractor side of it.
Man, I love it. I think it's incredible. I think you've stumbled onto something that for sure it's a huge need. And I think every market, every realtor, every home inspector, they all see that pain point. It absolutely solves a problem. It would solve a problem in my business. It would solve a problem in my market right now. And so, I just think for the audience that's listening, this right here is something that solves problems for every single person in the business or in the thing. It puts a little extra money in the home inspector's pocket. What's next steps? What's your website, contact info? How do we do this?
Yeah. So we have to spell Quick Fix. We got to spell it a little bit funny. So it's thequickfix.com and it's QWIKFIX. So as long as you get that right, you get to thequickfix.com and you can reach out to us there. Our head of sales is also who's connecting the IEB members to the special deal we've got going for the IEB members.
That's right. There's a special deal for IEB members. I forgot to say that earlier. Yeah. That's right. And so if you are not an IEB member, I'm telling you, there's perks, baby. There's perks. You got to join it. Absolutely. But IEB, you guys get a best special discount, special thing program for them. Yeah.
Yeah. And so for that, you can reach out to my head of sales. His name's Tim. So it's just Tim, TIM at thequickfix.com is the fastest way to get that done. Or you can reach out to me. I'm Jeremy, and Jeremy at thequickfix.com is good too. So.
That sounds awesome. We'll put all that information in the show notes for y'all if you're listening. Do you guys have any social media?
Yeah. We're all over Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn. I think
The Quick Fix. The Quick Fix everywhere.
The Quick Fix everywhere. Yep.
I love that. Okay, man. Thank you so much for being on the show. This is a really exciting product you have, and I'm really excited to see how it makes a difference in our industry.
Yeah. Thanks for having me. I look forward to meeting you in real life here in a couple months.
That's right. All right. Bye.
All right. Bye.